Here.
Owen.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Hazel. Here. Peterson.
Here.
And Yoder.
Here.
Any public comment regarding, this is regarding the budget 2016, 2017? Do you have anything on that during the public hearing?
No, it's just an opportunity for people to give comment as to priorities or ask questions and something. And then we'll review and adopt the document for the regular meeting.
Hearing no public comment, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So.
Moved and supported to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, and we'll start the regular meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll again, please.
Martucci.
Here.
Burris.
Here.
Owen.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Hazel. Here. Peterson.
Here.
And Yoder.
Here.
We have the agenda in our board packet. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions, other than to add under new business, take action on the 2016-2017 budget? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any public comment on any item? I recognize Mike Williams in our crowd tonight. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here today for a couple of reasons. I'm going to start out with political stuff. My name is Mike Williams. I'm a candidate for Macomb County Sheriff. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 20 years. I started as a road patrol deputy and worked my way up through the ranks, and currently I'm serving as the under sheriff. Sheriff Barnwell is retiring in December. He's endorsed my campaign along with State Representative Rick Eltman and the Police Officers Association of Michigan, among many others. I'm very active in the community as well as at the Sheriff's Office. A member of the Macomb County Local Planning Team, which is an emergency management group. Recently we got dispersed about $17,000 in loans to various police agencies, including Stanton PD. You got an $800 loan for your car out of that group. I chair the Community Corrections Advisory Board. A member of You Think Macomb, which is formerly Drug Free Macomb. I'm on the Macomb Area Career Center Criminal Justice Advisory Board. I sit on the Macomb Human Services Coalition. I'm also on the Emergency Management Advisory Council. I am a former trustee on the Central Macomb Board of Education. I had one term on that board from 2006 to 2010. In 2013, I was appointed to fill a vacancy on the Macomb Community College Board of Trustees. In 2014, we saw my name on the ballot, and I ran to maintain that spot, and I'm still there as a trustee. I'm a member of the Macomb County Republicans Executive Committee. This year I spent some time as the United Way campaign co-chair. Formerly, I've been on the Macomb County Controlled Substance Advisory Board. I'm a former president of the Macomb County Command Officers Association, former treasurer of the Macomb County Police Officers Association, former executive board member and treasurer of the U.S. Police Canine Association for Region 19, which is the state of Michigan. August 2nd is the primary. All the candidates are running as Republicans for the sheriff's race, so that's when that race is going to be decided. With that in mind, I hope that I heard your vote. I'll pass some stuff around real quick. And how much time do I have left?
I'm not counting someone
Okay.
else.
I have a non-political thing. Another thing that I've done in the last year, along with Jake, I was part of Leadership.com. If you ever get a chance to be or take part in Leadership.com, it's a great experience. I think Jake probably got a lot out of it. My project, you do a community service project during that. My project was 100 Men Who Care. Many of you may have heard, I want to say it was 2-3 months ago, there was a group, 100 Women Who Care. In that group, I guess it is, not a formal organization, You bring together 100 people, and they each pledge to donate $100. So they write a check, a blank check for $100. They put their name in a hat along with a charity, a local charity of their choice. 3 names are drawn out. The person whose name is drawn out will do a 5-minute presentation on their charity. Everybody votes, and then all the checks get written through that particular charity. It's a great way to make a huge impact on a local charity. The money all stays within the county, so if you could talk to Andy into coming with a $100 check, and he wanted to have, say, the Band Boosters be his charity, and he wins it, then 100 people show up times $100, $10,000 goes to that charity. So it's a great thing, and I did that as my leadership.com project. The event's going to be Thursday, July 19th at 5:30. I fully expect to be done by 6:30. It's not a lot of time. It's very easy, and it's an easy way to make a huge impact on the community. So I will pass out some brochures. I'll pass out a bunch of stuff. If you have any questions, let me know.
I think that was exactly 3 minutes.
If I could remain for a second.
I didn't mean to cut you off, I thought you were done, Mike, I'm sorry.
For this past weekend, I also was fortunate enough to spend a few hours at Taste of Black Mountain. And hats off, I think, Jake, is that whole thing your baby, or?
DDA's baby.
Okay. Well, it was outstanding. Just from my point of view, I think it was a great event. It's a great foundation, and we expect that to continue to grow. So, hats off to you. That was very well done.
Look, I'd like to know what you do in your spare time.
I sleep. And I'll stick around if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
I'd like to say something. Last week, or this last week, I should say, I went to the city website or Facebook page and seen that there was a video posted of the last meeting. And I was kind of excited. I wanted to listen to the exchange about Mrs. Hanson's property and the possibility of selling it or not selling it. I kind of want to say that it sounded as bad on TV as it did in person. But when I looked after viewing the tape, it seemed to end right before that exchange. I would like to suggest that you entertain the possibility of having maybe a policy of what to put out, or how to put out things. If something isn't out there in its entirety, maybe have a link where someone can view the rest of it. And I know there's times when you don't want to put out a big long video or something, but it would be nice if it was available for viewing. And I think with a new website we have coming up, you might want to entertain some kind of document retention policy and privacy policy. I'm just kind of disappointed that it's on the site.
And we've actually, we turned the camera on at the beginning of the meeting, and it's got an SD card in it that should hold 2 hours of footage. And then on occasion, for whatever reason, we'll go over there, and for some reason it's either shut itself off, even though it's recording, or the battery died, even though the battery's supposed to have a 2-hour life. So what Elizabeth and I have been considering is maybe finding a volunteer in the community that can actually run the camera during the meetings. And you were actually the one we're going to approach because you're here at most of the meetings. So, if that'd be something that maybe we can talk about after, because it's really hard for me to make sure that the camera is running right during the meeting when I'm up here participating.
Not busy, are you?
Well, it's more, during the meeting I have to be here participating. So maybe that's something we can discuss afterwards, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I'd like that.
Any other public comment? Move on to the minutes, and I believe it should be June 14, 2016. We're not in our board pack, but at our place tonight. Any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes? Yes.
I note that in previous minutes, usually those that vote no, their names are listed. I would like it noted that the motion made by Peterson and supported by Mason to approve the gaming license for the Stanton Fashion Days, 4 yes, 1 no, Yoder.
We'll accept that correction. Any other additions, corrections, or deletions?
Will the minutes be accepted as corrected?
Moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, June 14, 2016, as corrected. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. DPW report, I don't think we had it in our packet, did we? Do you have any report, Jeannie?
I thought of going in there,
I didn't
it was a
see
week
it.
different
Did we have it in there?
than typically. Yeah, so I thought it was in there like a week early, but I had additional.
Can you run through what was on it since it's not in their packet? Can you run through what was on the report since it's not in the packet?
Yeah, the DPW kept pretty busy with the last few weeks with the taste product round thing, amongst the other things that we had going on. And we're all pretty proud of that and I think it turned out really well. We're pretty excited to see that grow in the next couple of years. I think it really will. A lot of positive feedback. In that same last 3 weeks, the department was short Dan Wicks, who is in the National Guard and was called to schooling in Wisconsin. So I wanted to say thanks to Dan for what he does for our state and our country. He sacrifices quite a bit for the young daughter. Also, Dan received his results for his wastewater license through the Michigan DEQ, and he passed. So he is now a certified wastewater operator for the city. So that's good. Other than that, we are on our way to catching back up because, and thank you for the lack of hard criticism. We know we did fall behind on a few things, and those things are back online, and we'll get caught back up.
Great job, you guys worked your tails off for Taste of Montclair, especially. I noticed, I mean, not that you don't work hard all the time, but you went above and beyond, and 4 o'clock turned into 7 on Friday or whatever time you guys finally left, but on behalf of the DDA, we really appreciated everything you guys did for us.
It's well worth it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you got positive feedback also, because that's what I've been hearing too, so. Any questions of Jamie on the DPW report?
Thanks, Jamie. Jamie's on vacation today, so he came into the meeting and today, which is awesome.
He tends to be here when you need him here.
Extra mile kind of guy.
Yep, absolutely. Move on to your report, Jake.
Sure. So just, when I made the report, Taste of Montclair hadn't happened yet, so we were going to be pretty quiet about it. It didn't go well, but fortunately, as you heard, we got a lot of positive feedback. It's looking as though we're going to turn a small profit for the DDA, or at least break even, which is great. It was really a community development piece as well as trying to raise some funds for the DDA. And the balance sheets are looking like they're going to go our way, so that's good. The numbers up there, actually, if you look up here, you can see some of the checks cut are going to be pretty substantial to the food vendors. Brickyard came in first with $927 in sales. Mamma Mia came in a close second with $877. So, hundreds of dollars going to all of these local vendors for a day's work, which is really cool. The Youth League managed to raise $263.20, and the Band Boosters raised $524, so that's great for the schools. And the Rotary, those final numbers haven't been worked yet because the bar tab is still coming through, but they're going to be raising hundreds of dollars as well. So it really, not only the DDA, but a lot of community organizations came out really in favor and came out really well for that, so that's really cool. We got a lot of positive feedback traffic on our Facebook page. I was actually not there, as some of you may know, I was in a wedding that day. But even right after the event at like 11:30 at night, I was getting text messages from community members that have my cell phone saying, "That was great, make sure we do it again, thanks to all who helped." And it was really nice to see that come together. The DDA worked really hard on it. Our staff here, Janet, Elizabeth, DPW, the police, they all worked really hard on it. So that's the kind of stuff that we really want to capitalize on to make sure that people across the region really are targeting to cultivate a positive image of the city, and that's what we want. So I'm really pleased with how that went. Budget draft is finalized and in your board packet. We'll go through that tonight. There's a couple little changes for the final draft, other than what's in your packet, and I'll highlight those. And we'll overview the major themes and the projects for the coming year. The master plan's coming right along. We had a final draft. The planning commission looked through it. There's a few just little cosmetic things that needed changing, nothing too substantive. But they wanted to have one more final draft meeting before they pass it by resolution, and recommend that you guys do the same. Doug from Rowe will present the plan and answer any questions for you guys whenever it gets to you past the planning commission. Just to remind you guys, that plan is super important. It's going to really guide a lot of our development goals for the next 2 decades, and we'll be able to revisit that every 5 years and see how we're progressing. So it's really a yardstick to see how the city's doing. Maddie's Park, there's some developments there. The families associated with Maddie's Park contacted us and let us know. I think they did a 5K, and they raised some funds, and they have roughly $1,400 available for improvements at the park. I had a phone conversation with the family. There's some lights out that people have highlighted for us, some LED lights, and then also there's been some minor vandalism to Maddie's house over the course of years. Somebody messed with the bear statue, and then there's also just some normal wear and tear. There's some of the shingles have come off the roof with some paneling. So we're going to fix up Maddie's house and add a coat of paint, and then repair some LED lighting, and then repair the chains on the wheelchair-friendly swing set in Maddie's Park. So that's what those funds will be committed for. Let's see here. So the electrical improvements at the Elk Break Park, they were complete, and they came in very handy at the festival. There's 400 amps of total capacity down there, so there's actually 40 outlets, which is 40 receptacles, which is very handy. That's going to allow us to do a lot more community events and hopefully utilize that park more. As you guys will remember, when we did our Parks and Rec survey during our planning process, despite being our biggest park in operation, it's actually the least utilized outdoor recreational amenity. We had some people write in comments that said they go to the cemetery to walk, and even though there's a nice, there's a nice circle right there, Lincoln and Hammer, and they can go right through that park if they wanted to. So that's something that we want to start to capitalize on, trying to bring that park back. Next summer, in addition to Taste of Montcalm, I'd like to get a Movies in the Park series going, which they have inflatable screens that you can purchase that are like 16 feet wide, and they're actually only a few $100s. And the library has a projector. I've already spoken to them that we might be able to use, and we could actually show like family-friendly movies down at the park in summer evenings and stuff. So just getting people out, community development goals, things like that.
Why next summer?
Well, it'd be
$200?
yeah, well, a few $100, but trying to get the branding out and getting people prepared for it, so we can try to pull it off. I'm always willing to try that kind of stuff, but
You can do them into September, I would think.
yeah, there a lot of places do. So I mean, that's something we can definitely look into. We worked a little, just enough to get into this fiscal year, so which is July 1. So I mean, it's something we can definitely look into this year. We have to buy rights to movies and get the branding out and that kind of stuff. So it'll take a little bit of legwork, but that's definitely something we can move on. And then a little bit of sad news, we received notification on the 23rd that we were not selected for the ICE grant. As you'll remember, Jason Washler came and gave a presentation. And basically it was a $2,500 lottery ticket. We were like, if we could potentially get a multi-million-dollar program put together for $350,000 in new debt, it would be a huge slam dunk for our infrastructure needs. So we gave it a shot. There were just over 40 applicants, 9 grants were given out. According to some contacts that Rita Newhoff has at the MDDC, apparently it seems about 5 of those municipalities were kind of telegraphed before things were ever even over. Sort of, if you guys apply, we want you to apply for this so you can fix these problems, is what the state was kind of saying. So we knew it was a long shot, and hopefully those funds recur. It depends on how the budget goes at the state level. But the ICE grant was a long-standing thing from 2006 to 2011, and then it transitioned into the DIG grant, which was focused on downtown infrastructure specifically, and then they diverted all those funds up to the UP after the really bad winter in 2013, and then now the ICE grant's back, so we'll see how things go. And then I was also going to mention Dan Wicks. Congratulations to him. That's a really difficult test. I've taken some of his prep classes. So that's a really big accomplishment for him, and he actually has his performance evaluation coming up this week. So, he's turned out to be a really positive hire and a good addition to the team with DPW. So, yeah.
Any questions on Jake's report? And we apparently had an oversight because we have the bills to approve as well in our board packet.
Yeah.
So we will do that at this time if we have a motion. Moved and supported to approve the bills as presented. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. First item under new business is to reappoint Ray Holloway to the Planning Commission. You're still willing to do this, I'm assuming?
I am.
I would make that nomination. We have a motion to approve the appointment.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Any other nominations? All those in favor of the appointment of Ray Holloway to Planning Commission say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2016-17 budget.
Okay, so I understand the spreadsheet may have kind of been a little silly in your iPad. Yeah.
It's that way. Let me try to turn it into.
Yeah, it's really difficult to scan those in and get them the right orientation because the iPad thinks you're going to be looking at it like this, so it uploads.
Is there a way to turn it on here?
I didn't
If anyone knew it.
that's what I would find out. If
Way
you
to turn
rotate
it and keep it.
rotates everything.
Yeah, you probably couldn't do it within the same document or something.
Okay.
So sorry for the
Turn it on.
difficulty. And, you know, we'll have to fiddle with that a little bit and see if we can.
I just look at it flat.
Yeah, and it's all right. Okay. Well, again, sorry about
I
that.
didn't figure that out.
But if you just look up here, I've got it zoomed in pretty far, so you should be able to see. So this is color coded to make it easier to follow, and just to run through it really quickly. This is the requested budget. This is where we're actually at, the purple, through the end of May. So we've got one more month's worth of bills to come on to this fiscal year that will be reconciled here in the next couple of weeks. So what we're requesting, the item to focus on is sort of the sage green column right here. So revenues came in higher than expected for property tax and delinquent tax. You know, that was advantageous. Then a few things sort of, you know, right on point, kind of where we thought they would be. Not too much unexpected when it came to sales, things like that. We did have a pretty strong year for grave openings, as you'll notice. Revenue sharing, you know, right around where we thought. That'll have one more addition to it, so it'll sit right about where it's supposed to be. The franchise fee was considerably higher than we projected, which was cool. Cable TV franchise fee. Those things are kind of unpredictable unless you find the original agreement and find the amortization rate. So we bumped that up a little bit in anticipation that it'll likely stay around those rates. The state puts out estimations of what their revenue sharing is going to be. It's looking like it's going to have a slight increase or hold pretty flat. I think, you know, they usually lowball a little bit, so we'll see what happens. We're anticipating, you know, just an average year for grave openings. Sale of lots, again, we don't like to rely on those things for revenue, but when they come in, it's advantageous. So you'll remember last year, these are new line items. We changed the way that the equipment rental worked, and we put it in as it was essentially netting out to a negative when it needed to be counted as a revenue and an expense out of those departments. So equipment rental essentially, as the guys utilize our heavy equipment or anything that can be depreciated according to the state's Schedule C rates, we have to keep track of that. So obviously we use our equipment primarily for things that aren't coming out of the general fund, so major streets, local streets, sewer and water. So they pay in to cover that equipment rental usage. So the best way to think about that is the general fund owns the equipment and these other departments are renting it from us. The same way you go to like Ready Rental and rent an excavator for yourself. So that's the way to think about that. As you can see, usages were higher in some departments than we anticipated, which meant higher equipment revenue. But that all equals out in the budget. So, contribution from the water and sewer fund, again, there's one more month from all these contributions. We also changed the way this works. We had a really contrived system of admin allocation last year, so we kind of reformatted that. We made it, you know, a little bit simpler. if you're contributing something from fund balance, then our fund reserves, it's got a line item in as a revenue, and then wherever it's expended out in the expenditure section of the budget, it'll even out dollar for dollar. Same with major streets, local streets, those are admin allocations, so all of those funds pay City Hall essentially to do their work for them. As the DEA starts to contribute funds, they'll actually have a line item for this as well, and we'll take a certain amount of admin allocation from the DEA as they start to attribute TIF capture. So one thing I'll point out is roughly plan on $165,000 in potential general fund expenditure. This was what we planned on last year for the Parks project. Some of that was expended, it just didn't come out of this line item, or it's not listed as a revenue into this line item, the way we have the balance sheets and the accounting software going, but it was expended and then conversely accounted for in other areas, because we have to take the general fund balance out. So, the $165,000, that's continued parks improvements and a couple other projects that we're going to talk about as we go forward through the budget presentation. So I'm just running through a few of the key line items, and then we'll go through the PowerPoint presentation. I'll take questions as we go, so feel free to interrupt. The contributions aren't going to change too much. So with the attribution of that general fund balance, you're looking at total revenues of $736,268 for fiscal 16-17. So then we get into the fun part, what we're going to spend it on. So this is you guys, salaries and wages, all that good stuff, pretty basic. You know, your department accounts for approximately $10,000 a year, so pretty small. Mayor, again, just general compensation, fringe benefits, that's for trainings, conferences, things of that nature. Then City Hall administration, you've got all of our wages worked in. Support staff, I worked it into, our community liaison did get a raise at her most recent performance evaluation, so by approving this budget, you'll then be subsequently approving that raise. And I'm hoping to work her hours up a little bit more this year. We're getting a lot of positive traction in the community with the implementation of that position. We work out a proportion of the fringe. We estimate what we're going to need on materials and supplies. We anticipate contracting professional services. We have a lot more. This is some of that general fund balance that was utilized, so putting together the park master plan, different things like that. A lot of those came out of these kinds of line items, professional services, because we contracted with Rowe for that. So we don't anticipate, now that the park master plan's done, we anticipate less of a need for that this year. Repair and maintenance, you know, these are just things that we want to have some contingency funds in, but like honestly, if something serious breaks, like if our central air breaks or if our furnace breaks, something like that, that's where that comes from. You know, and then we anticipate, and it can also come out of capital outlay if it's the purchase of a new capital asset. I anticipate buying a new copier printer for this building this year. The one we've got doesn't print color, and it's just got some functionality issues, so there's some things we'd like to improve with it. And you move into cemetery. We do not have a millage-funded cemetery. That's something that I've noticed in the city. Like people seem to think that they pay extra taxes for the cemetery, but they don't. It's just worked into our general operating millage. There are places that do have that. Lakeview is an example. They have a cemetery millage. I think Carson City also has a cemetery millage. But yeah, it's not uncommon. But that's if people ever talk to you about that as a commissioner, and even if they, you know, heaven forbid, have a complaint about the cemetery or something like that, and they want to know how it's funded through our general operating millage, and then it's worked into the general fund as its own expenditure department. So, you know, a certain amount of the guys' wages come out of that. You know, we try to guess, more or less guess proportionately on how, you know, how much work they're going to be doing in a given year, and then we try to adjust based on those projections. I did put in for capital outlay, one of the projects we're going to discuss is some improvements to the roads in the cemetery, and the potential addition to the rest of them to our local streets map. So if you look at the cemetery, there's lots of, there's a certain amount of two-way roads, and then there's some one-way cut-throughs. But Walnut Street actually extends into the cemetery, and it's on our MDOT streets map, and then the entryway is on our MDOT streets map. But some of the other thoroughfares in there that are just as wide as some of those sections aren't. Some of them won't qualify to be on our streets map. the importance of trying to get them to be allowed on our streets met by MDOT is because then we'll get local streets funding for them and, per foot, and that's something that we can utilize. But they are starting to degrade in some places. I've had both the DPW director and Charlie, one of our DPW workers, driving around through there. I walked through there, and we're getting some pretty bad pitting and some erosion on some of our hillscapes and stuff. So there's some work that needs doing in there this year, and we'll cover that. So the clerk, that's one portion of Janet's clerk treasurer role. So all her general benefits and things come out of here. Tax board review, same with them, fairly small department, once a year, twice a year kind of thing. Treasurer, this is one that's different, this line item right here, materials and supplies. Janet highlighted for me, and rightfully so, that we're gonna have some extra costs out of this here due to elections, so, or not elections, there was something that was. Tax prep, that's it. So that's actually a little bit lower in your spreadsheet, but we bumped that up for the final draft. And then our assessor, Davis, comes out of here. Professional services, you'll note that there's 15,000, which is unusual, but that's due to the fact that we're still, we have that standing project that we're trying to find a vendor for to do a commercial reassessment of all parcels in the city, due to our tax ratio being a little bit low. It's at, and that's just the recent study, so that's a percentage of all those commercial parcels came back at 39%, and you're supposed to have those right around 50%. We had a little bit of trouble when we sent out the RFP. A lot of the vendors were either, they had too many clients and they wouldn't take on a job that size, or they wanted to go about it in a way that wasn't really going to fit our time frame, and I think that would have projected the costs way higher than what we're looking for. I'm currently trying to work with Matt Woodward over at the, or Wolford, excuse me, over at the county, the equalization director there. He's got a list of all the assessors that operate in the county, and he also is the director for Kent County. He's supposed to be putting together that list of potential bidders, and we'll resubmit that RFP in this fiscal year. So we'll get that project done this, I'd say late summer is what I'm shooting for. That's going to be one of our next big focuses now that the budget will be done and Taste of My Palms through. So that's going to be important for us. That's actually a very crucial project, not the most exciting, but definitely a crucial project. Here you have our elections, so our election workers, things like that, any kind of professional services. So I believe the county charges us for some services, the county clerk's office, all that stuff comes out of here. Police, you'll notice we bumped up part-time hours quite a bit this year because we're anticipating the need to bring on a part-timer. If you'll recall, there were 5 officers on staff when I got here, one of which was a school resource officer and then another part-timer. Actually the full-timer, we had a part-timer transition to the full-time officer after they left. So what we'll anticipate is bringing on another part-timer to kind of cover some gaps in service coverage. That'll take place this fiscal year. And then again, fringe benefits, things like that. Gas, you'll notice that we didn't go through nearly as much as we anticipated because of the gas prices falling. So professional services, they don't go through too much of that. Sometimes if they have court fees that require, or like any consults that require our attorney, some of these things come out of here. And then capital outlay, we're planning on getting some full-size lockers for the guys this year. Right now they have, I think they came out of the old school, the locker.